Hi all. So the wiring continues. As far as we've put the body back on, mainly on the center section, just to make sure what clearances we have around the chassis where the body is, so I know I can put certain cables, AC lines, heater cores, and God knows whatever else around and cram it in, because we are kind of, yes. Did I bite off more than I can chew? No, because I have people that can help me. So when I basically get frustrated, I give them a call. So thank you very much to those people. But yeah, so we've mounted pretty much all of the electrical boxes bar one. We now have our TPMS receiver, so tire pressure and temperature sensors come back to here. This is our receiver for our wireless steering wheel, which is now working. That's now on. That's obviously the ECU for the power steering. We have our 3 connections here to make to the ECU. One's an ignition live, one's a speed, one's an RPM signal. Still not exactly sure what needs RPM for the steering, but that's the small stuff. Most of the big power stuff is in. Oh, squeeze past the caliper. The reservoirs are going to be mounted just inside the cabin, basically behind this access cover. So basically they won't be seen from the outside of the car. You'll only see them from the inside. So the access cover on this side will really be for the hydraulics, and also there will be a ASIN tap-in point, so we can a charge point here. There'll also be another charge point on this side here, closer to the dryer. Dryer's mounted now. That's now in. Exhaust gas temperatures, EGT to CAN unit is also in there. We have one IO expander on this side. We've actually split the IO expanders left and right, just to try and make the wiring a little bit less, because obviously sensors to it, then it's just 2 CAN cables across. Started the fan wiring, but realized I don't have the correct plug to do the fans properly, because these are 20 amps, so most of the connections I have down to 15, so I've ordered some GTP connectors for those, sorry, DTP connectors for those. We are going to have a siren, so that will be in here. DTM box, as I was mentioned, was already here. Sorry, PDU. ECU, a little bit more tidy up in here. These basically, there's 2, I think there's 2 or 3 of these we now use. A couple are going to be spare for some spare auxiliary and digital inputs. So we just tidy that up, put on a plate. I'm waiting yet again for another plug on here. You can see a bit of running theme. That's our termination resistor for the end of the CAN line. And in here, it's a power nightmare. One more IO expander. Then we have our PWM capable MSD solid state relays, which is powering the electronic steering and the fans. There's a Stinger unit here, a bit more dumb unit, but still has the ability to power, make the contacts via negative or positive switching. 20 amps a phase, also 20 amps each, has one 40 amp. That 40 amp we should be using for the hydraulic pump. But you can see the power distribution side, yeah, got kind of mad. But we do have a nice fuse box that basically covers the whole car. There's a, if I get this right, an ANL fuse, 500 amp ANL fuse is basically like a slow blow. So you can whack 1,000 cold cranking amps through it for the initial torque of the motor start when you're trying to do the starter motor and it won't blow. But 500 amps ANL fuse for that. And we've got some fuses for obviously individual parts. So the power to the PDM, the power to the solid state relays are all basically fused. So nothing on the car. The only thing that's basically unfused on the car will basically be from here to the battery. Everything else, if it shorts out, doesn't matter. There's going to be a fuse of some sort that takes care of it. So we're good there. Steering wheel update. Well, we unfortunately realised the ECU Masters rotary switches do not match with the blink stop remote. You can see it flashing just about. There you go. We'll just about get it up. So unfortunately, the two rotaries didn't match, didn't give us the right signal. So unfortunately, we had to buy two of their actual rotaries. So a bit of a shame, but effectively now I've got the two rotaries that I should have bought with the wireless kit. So now these are set. The first one here it's what the hell do they call them? Grey Hill. It's a Grey Hill rotary switch, but has a little circuit board at the back to give you the right. There's a 3-volt battery in this, so I think that was the confusion, because the ECU Masters rotaries I got for 5-volt. Anyway, this one here, we can limit the Grey Hill to how many rotary positions you want. So you can have it continuously turning. So you've got 12 positions. This has 6, so we now have off, intermittent 1, 2, and 3, slow wiper, fast wiper, and then it stops, which is kind of nice. So we haven't limited this at all. We've just put a dead stop on 1. So this is our strategies for the ECU, which we're going to have to program. So the steering wheel now is ready for trimming, which is good. So we shall take that off for trimming soon. And then I'll take the seats off as well. So that's done. I don't know, the last time we hadn't machined the billet cover for the switch panel. We've got to do some etching in here. This is just sanded at the moment, sanded down to 600 grit. So once it's buffed and polished, like the gear stick and the dashboard, and basically it'll be kind of matching. But I've got to etch, I've got to engrave these with the fan control, blend for heater servo and for the hot water servo. So that's done. Obviously the engine is pretty much all wired now. There's a few minor changes. This cable here is a bit long, so we shall basically get into here and shorten it. That's not a problem. Just sacrifice a couple of pins for the, I think it's just a 2-pin. Yeah, it's just a 2-pin DTM. So I'll sacrifice a couple of pins on that, shorten that to the right distance. We've hidden the electric cable, so you can see it this way, sort of behind the aluminium frame. So we're going to put some retaining clips, which I have just about everywhere now. You can see them here. Rivet them into the chassis. I'll rivet them onto the back of this. So the engine has got to come out one more time, but we already knew that when it went in. So this was really for setting up the loom. So I've got a couple of things to drill in here. Probably could do that to be honest, without pulling the engine, but there is one thing that I have to pull the engine out for, so it's easy to do when it's out. We've done most of the power cording, so this is the main 50mm cable to the starter motor. We've started doing the rear loom, started building this up. The fun of, yes, DTM and Super Seal plug and pin kits, and having to do kind of all of this stuff, which is, yeah, fun. Obviously for each of the suspension potentiometers, so we've got one of them at each corner. We've got the plug and pin. I couldn't find a plug and pin kit for this, but we did find a pigtail kit, so I've joined this up. Basically at the moment I'm just building the loom from the chassis side basically back to the car. So we'll sort of build it from this end out. That's the way my friend did it, so basically sort of copied the same idea. So that's the way we're doing that. We got our shorty sensor for the oil temperature. Now it's 1/8. Now most of the sensors are a little bit longer, and I've got a proper Bosch one that's longer, but unfortunately the way that fits into the thermostat and oil remote housing, it kind of sits right in the way, if you can imagine my finger, right in the way of the oil flow. Great if you want to measure the temperature. Don't like the idea of it being quite so restrictive as far as flow is concerned. So Motion Raceworks in the US, I think that's Cletus McFarlane's company, if I was been told, do a shorter sensor. So we're now basically going to convert to this, so that won't be, it'll be poking into the oil flow, but it won't really be an obstruction. So that's that's ready to plug in once we pull the back out. So all the CAN devices have all been working. This is the final CAN device for the keyboard that's in the roof. That's done there. Got some heater hose, so basically made up this little section here this is the servo that basically controls the heat in and out of the matrix. And then we have another servo the other side there. You can see that one there. That one obviously controls a flap inside there. So the later actual versions have 2 flaps. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's about the same size. There's another servo with this side. So the next gen version will have the Gen 4 or whatever that one is. So yeah, we're pretty much building stuff up. Oil coolers and stuff are really basically done, so I can seal up the last of the oil lines and basically see what room I've got around here. We obviously have quite a few more chassis earths that we need. This one here, we've got a main chassis earth direct to the starter motor because of the anodizing of the plates, so that's done. We have now an engine solid earth there. We also have an earth for the starter, from the alternator directly to earth as well, just to make sure that doesn't have a problem charging through the chassis. So all of those bits and pieces are in. So yeah, we're making big steps forward. So it's just electrical work. It just seems to take forever for me. Probably more to the fact that I don't do it every day, so I'm having to take my time while doing it. But good news is the custom flywheel, which unfortunately we had to make due to political reasons. The only way I could buy my clutch was to buy a Kennedy kit, and therefore the flywheel, they would not make a custom one for me, which is a shame. I offered to sort of pay another $400 or $500 to redesign the flywheel just to basically have the correct offset for me, but unfortunately they weren't interested in doing that, which is fine. You know, that's great. They were honest and upfront about it, so I'm not complaining. So if anybody who's got a G50 with a 1/2 inch thick adapter plate, I have a G50 to LS flywheel for sale. I actually have an old adapter plate over there that I could machine down to 1/2 inch. So if you know anybody that has an LS to G50 style or G96 turbo, let me know, because basically that's going to be for sale. But the flywheel is made at the moment. I've just had photographs and video of it, so it's on its way. So hopefully FedEx sometime at the end of the week. Then that's the last catalyst basically to pull the whole engine and gearbox back out again, put the correct flywheel on, mark my top dead center, which like an idiot I forgot to do in the first place. And then once I've got the engine exact top dead center, we're going to have to use this hole here basically for a TDC mark, and then we'll mark it on here as well. So basically we only really need to know TDC at 0. The ECU will take care of the rest of it, but without that it's pretty hard to guarantee the engine is timed right. Obviously we have dual wideband knock control, so that's not really an issue as far as timing, but it'd be nice to get the exact dead 0. So that's about it. So lots of wiring progress. I'll give you an update once the next section comes through. Okay, once the flywheel's here and we bolt the clutch up and we finally put the gearbox and everything on for the very last time, I hope, we'll do another update. Speak to you soon.